This is sweep picking. And in this video, we're going to talk about sweep picking mistakes that every intermediate guitar player makes. Before we get too deep, we need to make sure you're holding the pick correctly. You can hold the pick like this or like this. I used to prefer the first way, but now I prefer the second way. But why? That is not important right now. I'll tell you later at the end of the lesson. Now let's talk about right hand placement. I put my right hand here and generally don't leave this area. I don't put it here or here. Next, we need to talk about the actual sweeping motion. Don't individually pick each note like this. Instead, you want to play all the notes in one swift motion. Also, be careful not to get stuck on the strings like this. If this happens, don't worry. It's to fucking be expected. You don't get these things instantly, you fucking idiot. It takes reps to get the technique. Some of you seem to not be aware of this, but we're not done looking at the right hand stuff just yet. It's very important to make sure you don't have a death grip on the pick. If your right hand looks like this, instead of this, you're using way too much energy squeezing the pick. Now, I already know what you're gonna say. But Brandon, if I don't squeeze the pick hard enough, it'll slip out of my hands. Yes. That's because you haven't practiced enough, you monster energy drinking fuck. Do the exercises that I'm about to show you in this video every day for 14 days. Then report back to this comment section so you can tell everyone your results. Comment accountability so people can remind you if they see your comment is 14 days old, but you haven't reported back yet because you bitched out. Finally, we have one last right hand tip to cover, and it's about slanting your pick. When I sweep this direction, I'm slanting the pick like this. When I sweep the other direction, there's not much of a slant, but I'm still slightly tilting the pick in the direction I'm sweeping. Or the pick is at least neutral. In general, my rule is slant the pick in whichever direction I'm sweeping. It's what works for me. Now, in terms of which part of the pick is striking the strings when I sweep, it's here, because my pick is slightly angled. My pick does not look like this. Okay, subscribe to my stupid fucking channel. Now let's move on to the left hand. We're gonna start with this shape. Take note of the tab. These symbols mean downstrokes, so this direction. And these symbols mean upstrokes, so this direction. If the picking direction is not indicated, that means the note is not picked and is either a hammer-on or a pull-off. Here are some left-hand mistakes to avoid. Don't let the notes ring together like a chord. That might sound cool, but it's not sweeping. Each note should be detached, like this. Letting notes ring together might sound okay, but again, it's not sweeping. Just practicing this exercise can work well for stopping notes from ringing together. Try your best as well to prevent open strings from ringing out as well as you ascend your sweep. You can use fret wraps to help you with this. Even our boy Matteo Mancuso uses them, but our main man Steve Vai does not. I've used fret wraps in some of my videos. If you don't have a fret wrap, socks can also achieve the same and arguably better effect. To prevent string noise, you want to use your right and left hands to mute the strings that you aren't playing as best as you can. If your best isn't good enough, then just quit! So let's recap everything we've covered so far. How to hold the pick, hand placement, don't individually pick each string, don't catch on the strings, don't squeeze the fuck out of the pick, so no death grip, slant the pick in the direction you're sweeping, don't keep it parallel, avoid open string noise, we looked at the sweep symbols in tabs, don't let notes ring together, practice letting go of them. And we talked about using a fret wrap. Now let's move on to some exercises. The first thing you've got to realize is you're a fucking idiot. I will now show you some of my favorite sweep shapes. I'll tell you a secret. I prefer to sweep 7th arpeggios instead of triads. 7th arpeggios have 4 notes instead of 3, which means there will be more hammer-on / pull-offs during the sweep. You can see that if I do a side-by-side comparison. Here's a quick example of a sweep melody that uses those shapes. Note: avoid practicing sweeps in isolation. If you don't ever practice notes before and after a sweep, then you'll find it very difficult to incorporate sweep arpeggios into your improvisation. Sweep picking is not a skill you pick up overnight. A few years ago, I committed to a 30-day sweep picking challenge to help improve my chops. Then I did it again a few months later because I still didn't feel I was good enough. Do you remember earlier in this video when I said I preferred the second way of holding the pick instead of the first way? I used to prefer the first way, but now I prefer the second way. The reason that I now prefer to hold the pick like this instead of this is because the first way is not how I hold the pick for alternate picking. I use the second way for alternate picking. So this meant if I wanted to switch between alternate picking and sweep picking, I would have to readjust how I was holding the pick. This is not ideal when playing fast lines. Faced with this problem, I had to make a decision as to how I held the pick. If I held the pick the first way, it means I'd lose some alternate picking speed. If I held the pick the second way, it means I'd lose some sweep picking speed. I decided to sacrifice some sweep picking speed, because at the end of the day, alternate picking is more useful than sweep picking. And I've since been able to recover a lot of sweep picking speed as I made this decision many months ago. I've practiced, damn it! I fucking practiced! If you want feedback on your sweep picking and want a professional to tell you what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong, sign up to the 52-week guitar player waiting list. In this program, you will receive structure, feedback, practice routines, accountability, live interaction with pros, and big fun in the sun. Imagine just sitting where you are, practicing alone, versus sitting where you are but being able to get video feedback on your playing within 24 hours. Or attending one of our 5 live streams that happen over Zoom every week to speak directly to a pro. 52-Week Guitar Player is currently closed for enrollment until mid-June. We just closed on March 31st, so now is a super early time to get on the waiting list. If you're watching this video after June 2024, keep an eye out for the next time we open. It's still a good idea to get on the waiting list. The link will be the same. Sign up to the waiting list now! Now just leave!